Welcome to Chico, California Steak Life Sketches podcast. Today we're going to be visiting with Diane Guymon. So welcome, Diane.
Thank you.
We're glad that you're here to share your experiences and story with us. Why don't you start off with telling us where were you born and raised?
Okay, so I was born in actually Castro Valley, but I was raised in Fremont, California. It's down in the Bay Area, and I'm kind of a city girl. It was a good childhood and good life.
Good. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have an older brother and a younger brother, and we're all about a year apart. And my mom had kids really fast, and we're really close to each other.
Good. So
Yeah.
that's good. Now, where did you go to school, or your activities in school?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. In Fremont, there's 5 high schools, and I went to the one called American, and it was a really good high school. It was built in 1776, and the mascot was the eagle, and colors were red, white, and blue. So that was kind of neat about it. But the big thing that was for me in high school was I played a lot of sports, and I played cross country and played soccer and ran track, and we were good at some of them. We won a lot of championships, and I did the track and the cross country mostly to get in shape for soccer, because I also played soccer on the traveling team, which is the off season of the high school soccer team, and that traveling team won the state cup championship when I was a senior. And I ended up missing high school graduation because Western Regionals was the same day as our high school graduation. But that ended up being kind of a bad choice because half of our team picked graduation. So we went to Western Regionals, which was in Idaho, with not our full team, and we got destroyed.
Oh.
So I should have probably been to graduation.
That's too bad you didn't have your whole team, because if you'd been successful,
Yeah.
you probably would have continued to be.
It would have been better.
Yes, it would. Okay, while you were in high school, you suffered a great loss in your family. Tell
Yeah.
us about that, would you?
When I was 17 years old, we found out that my mom had lung cancer, and she had smoked, and her parents smoked, and she was a stewardess, so she worked when it was secondhand smoke was on the planes, and there was a lot of smoke around. So she had the kind of lung cancer that was like cheetah spots, and that's the bad kind. It's hard to just get rid of a spot because you have spots all over. And so it was like 17 and 18 years old, she was really sick, and it was back in the olden days when the mom did everything around the house and the dad worked. I remember my dad would come home in like Mr. Rogers' sports coat and put on his sweater and sit on the couch and read the 5 o'clock paper. And when my mom was sick, I was the only daughter, so I feel like I had to cook and clean, and I don't even think my dad knew where the vacuum cleaner was. So I was kind of what probably most 18-year-old girls are. Hopefully they're not, but I was kind of a punky girl, and I was like mad that she was sick. I was mad at her that she was sick. So a lot of times, I went to college full time. After high school, I went to college. I took a lot of classes, and I also worked full time. And now looking back at it, it was just to be away from home. I didn't like seeing her with her oxygen tank, with her bald head, with skinny, and she's coughed a lot, and yeah, I was away from home a lot. And one of the places that I felt really comfortable at when I didn't want to be at home, besides school and work, was I had an aunt and uncle that lived in our neighborhood, so pretty close to us. And I had been at their house a lot before my mom was sick because I babysat their kids, and we had family Thanksgivings and stuff at their house. And their house was just an awesome place. I can't describe it. It was a place where you want to be. And I would go over there a lot, like probably too much. I was probably annoying or something. But I also remember they had magazines on their tables, and they had like their wall art was Christ and stuff. But they also had, the missionaries were living in a trailer in their backyard. So trailers don't have washer and dryers and all the things they had. So the missionaries were in the house a lot when I was in the house a lot, and they, without teaching me the discussions, they were teaching me like the plan of salvation and stuff. And it really helped me when my mom was sick, because I didn't think I was ever going to see her again. And So I had the gospel introduced through that experience, through my aunt and uncle and the missionaries, and that feeling that I felt in their house that was so warm or whatever was the Spirit.
Yes.
Yes.
And what a comfort that must have been
Yeah.
during this really trying time
Yeah.
when your mother was sick. You really carried a heavy load, didn't you?
I remember another thought that I just thought of when I was talking to you right then is when I was really little, so maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, I don't know. We had the neighbors on the street next to us it was when primary was afternoon, like a Wednesday night thing, would come over every Wednesday and ask me and my brothers if we wanted to go to primary. And I went a couple of times. So I think that was really interesting too, as part of my conversion story is when I went to church for the first time with my aunt and uncle, one of the songs was "I Am a Child of God," and I knew the words. Like, that's so weird, but it's because I had heard it when I was going to the Wednesday afternoon primaries with the family.
Every little experience built up to you being introduced to the church. So when were you baptized?
I was 18 years old, so
Okay.
1987.
Okay, so after this, after your mother had passed away, and then you were introduced to the church and had that as a comfort and a help, and then you're going off to college. Where did you go to college?
So I started when my mom was sick. I didn't want to move away from home, and I applied to 2 colleges. I applied to San Jose State and Cal State Hayward, and I ended up going to Cal State Hayward, which was just right up the hill from my house, and I went there for about 2 years. But I moved to Chico State. I moved to go to Chico State after I met wasn't my husband then, but my husband, Scott Guymon. He had come to Fremont for selling Clark Pest Control for a summer, like a lot of young men do. And he was in a group, there was 4 people in his little group of selling Clark Pest Control. And they moved into the ward that I was in. And I was still going to a family ward at the time. And in that ward, there was 2 young men. One was my cousin, and the other had a girlfriend. And there was 4 girls. So one of the girls' boyfriend, so when these boys moved in, me and all the girls, we just were so excited to have boys in our ward, and we liked going over to their apartment or going to their swimming pool, we hung out with the boys a lot, and we were happy that they came. But one of them, which was Scott, he really liked me, which I don't think I was used to that very much, but he always was standing next to me. I remember the first time I met him, he was wearing a Captain America t-shirt, elbow pads, knee pads, and I think he had like a sweatband, I don't know, and we were playing volleyball, and he was diving, and he was showing off, and he was saying, when I went to Willows, I played football. I just remember this guy just trying to impress me, but I wasn't really impressed. And multiple times he asked me out. You want to go out to ice cream? Do you want to go bowling? Like, he asked me out maybe 5 times, 10 times, I don't know. And I remember he came to my work. I was working at a grocery store, and he said, we should go to ice cream. And I said, they're going to be closed when I get off. No, we shouldn't go to ice cream. That's a bad idea. And I remember him walking away, and I had the feeling that he's never going to ask me out again. And I really liked when he was chasing me or asking me out or whatever. So I even wrote out what I was going to say. I wrote out on a paper, and I called him up the next day, and hey, this is Diane. You want to go out? Like, I asked him out, and we ended up going out. And at the end of the summer, he moved back to Chico, and I remember he said to me, he's like, let's get engaged. I don't have a ring for you, and don't tell anybody, but like, I don't want to have a long distance relationship if it's not for anything, so let's get engaged. So I went home, and I told my dad, and I told my friends, and I told everybody. But he came, so between that was August and December. I went up to Chico every weekend, or he came to Fremont every weekend, which is like nowadays I want to drive to Gridley. It's too far, but we would drive that 3 or 4 hour trip every weekend. And I also remember the first time we came to Chico, we were in the car together, and we saw a green, watery field, and I was like, what is that? And he said, well, that's rice. And I said, that's not rice. Rice comes in a box like macaroni. Like, I didn't know rice was an actual plant. So I was a city girl, like I said. He also really is into duck hunting, and I never even knew a person with a gun, I don't think. And I remember when we would date in Fremont, we would go feed the ducks was one of the things we liked to do. And he loved ducks. He knew everything about ducks. I couldn't imagine him shooting something that he loves. Yeah. But yeah, that's a big thing in his family. They're all hunters.
And he was from where?
When I met him, he was from Willows. Okay. So he was living in Chico. But his father was a Forest Service worker, so if you ask him where he's lived, he's probably lived in like 10 places. So yeah. So I moved up. So we got engaged after when he finally actually asked my dad and gave me a ring and everything. And I moved up. I filled out the applications and stuff and got accepted to Chico State to start in January. So I moved up and started Chico State, and I finished my college at Chico State. And I love Chico State is so beautiful compared to Cal State Hayward. I really loved it.
Good. So where were you married then? Tell us that story.
Yeah, that year that we got married, which was 88, the year that we got married, the Oakland Temple, it was actually, I still remember why it was closed. They were removing the asbestos. So everyone who, like up here in Chico, who was engaged at the same time, I remember some got married in Oregon, some got married, and other people went to Utah. But like, I thought the Salt Lake Temple was the prettiest one. So we got married in the Salt Lake Temple.
That was quite a drive for you to...
Yeah, we drove. I had a Fiero at the time, those little two-seater with the engine in the back, little tiny good gas mileage cars, and we drove in this little tiny car all the way to Utah.
Wow.
And all the way back pretty quick.
Did any family go with you?
Yeah, so Scott's family came, and I have an uncle that came, an uncle and an aunt that came. So if you think about it, so a lot, but not really because it was so far away, and my dad's not a member, and my brothers didn't come. It was good to have my aunt and uncle there.
That was really dedicated of you to drive clear to Salt Lake to be married in the right place.
Yeah, we didn't want to wait for the asbestos. I'm just kidding.
That's good.
And we have the beautiful pictures now because I still think it's a beautiful temple.
It really is, yes. So, do you have children?
Yeah, we have 4 children. Our oldest is a daughter, and then we have 3 sons. Our daughter her name is Melanie, and she's married to Dax, and they live in Virginia with 3 kids. There's Miles, Theo, and Sydney. And she's probably my best friend. I know all moms say that. But we talk every single morning. We video chat. I wake up at 6 o'clock, and it's 9 o'clock there because she lives in Virginia. And we video chat for about an hour every morning. And we always end our video chat with a game. We make up games to play, and it's usually about a soccer player, but guessing games. And she's just my favorite. When I was going to brag about her, because when we're in line in Safeway or Disneyland or whatever, we just find someone who will listen and we brag about her. But she went to college at Southern Virginia University and played soccer. She was recruited to play soccer there. And her freshman year, they won the national championship, and she was the national championship MVP. And through her 4 years of college soccer, she was a 4-time All-American. She won All-American all 4 years. And she was the SVU Rookie of the Year her freshman year. So of all the sports and all the athletes, and boys and girls, she was the Rookie of the Year. And she was Athlete of the Week for the NAIA about 3 or 4 times throughout her career. So I can brag about her. But I was thinking, oh, my kids are awesome, and I can brag about the other ones too. So William also went to SVU and played soccer, and he scored a goal in his first game. So not very many people can say that. He served his mission in the Paris, France mission. It was a really awesome mission. And he has worked a couple summers in Australia doing sports camps, and now he's very successful. He's a businessman in Salt Lake City. And then Bradley's my next son. He was on the PV soccer team that won over 100 games in a row, 100-game winning streak, or a not losing streak because they tied some. And they were ranked number 1 in California for a little while. And he's now a plumber, and he's the only of my kids that still lives in Chico. So I guess you could say He's my favorite right now. I don't know. No favorite. And then we also have Andrew. He's our youngest, and he just moved away. He was one of those 2020 graduates who got stuck in COVID and had to have online senior year and online freshman year of college. And so he's going now. He's going to UVU in Utah, so he's close to William, so I'm glad that they get to spend time together. And he was really interesting. In high school, he played basketball. He's probably because the other kids played soccer. He wanted to do something different, and he's also 6'5", so he's really tall. He played basketball, but he also did theater and choir. And one time, he sang the national anthem like in his basketball warm-ups because it was for the varsity basketball team's game. That was really cool. And he's done a lot of theater, musical theater, and dancing. He's very talented.
You have a family of talented and athletic children, and they probably get a lot from you.
Yeah. And William's married too. I forgot to say that. William has a wife, Madeline, and I couldn't pick a better girl. She's amazing.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
And you have 3 grandchildren.
Yeah. They're
with
really
your daughter.
good too.
That's really great. Do you work?
Yeah, I have a job right now. I work for a medical billing place, and when I graduated with a liberal arts degree, and I thought I wanted to be an elementary school teacher or work in the schools, and I did that a lot. Well, I wasn't a teacher, but I worked in the schools as an aide and a yard duty when my kids were young, and it's the perfect job for a mom because you get the days off, the kids are off, and you're off by 3, and when they did sports, I was off by 3. I also coached a lot of their teams, so that was just, the people who work, it's hard to coach because you're getting off later. I don't know. So that was good for a while, but after a while, I have hearing loss. I've had hearing loss my whole life, and it's just getting worse. And I couldn't really tell what the kids were saying when I had to dictate what they're writing for a story, or on the playground. I felt like it might even be a safety hazard if they say, "Hey, yard duty," and I didn't hear them if they need some emergency. So I was very lucky to get into medical billing because that's a job where you can do where you just like take the number off the paper and put it into the computer, and you don't really need. I probably don't talk to people 98% of the day, so that's really it's a good job, and I love it. It's been really good for our family too because my husband, about 3 years ago, had a skill saw accident and he cut off his thumb, and now he doesn't have a job. Interesting, but they did a surgery where they put his big toe onto his hand. So he does have a thumb now, but it's his toe.
Really? I've never heard of that.
We're very lucky that we found out about it because there's like 2 places in the world that do the surgery, and someone that we know of someone used to work at that surgery center, and we were able to get like a recommendation and get it going. And it was in San Francisco, a place that my husband doesn't like to go to, and now he even has bad memories of. He was in the hospital for about a week with the surgery. It's a really complicated surgery, but now he works with his hands. He's like a handyman, and he can grab things. But my medical billing job gives us our benefits and everything. It's good to have a job.
Yes.
He didn't.
What a blessing that he now has the
very
use of that hand.
Very good.
The thumb. Wow. Well, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you might like to share with our viewers?
I was thinking, if anybody who knows me already knows this, so it's kind of funny, but have you heard the expression, do you know what a fan is? Do you know the long word for a fan is fanatic? So I'm definitely a soccer fanatic. And I think part of it is when my kids grew up and went away, my life used to just be taking them to games, taking them to practice, coaching their teams, all that kind of stuff. I started watching soccer on TV because I didn't have any kids to watch. And now I'm really obsessed with, I think obsession is a bad word, but I watch all of the soccer games that I can of my favorite teams. And I have a lot of, my kids say that I'm not a little stitious, I'm superstitious. I have a lot of superstitions, like that morning of a game, if I get one more than 12 emails, I'll have to go send myself an email so that I'll have 14, so that I won't have bad luck that day. And then I have a really big soccer jersey collection of my teams. So on game day, I have to wear my team's jersey. So actually, even though I'm actually wearing a jersey today, and they won this morning, so that's really exciting. And in the past 3 or 4 years, 2 or 3 years, probably about 3 years, I've been doing mountain biking and running, and that has really changed my life. I think it's brought me joy and happiness, and it makes me feel so stronger, and mentally if I run in the morning, I do better at work. Like, that might not make sense, but it does. Like, when I don't run, I can tell a difference. And then one of my favorite things, even more than running, is mountain biking, because you can just see so much. Like, we have Bidwell Park in Chico, so much beauty, and you can get so far on a bike compared to the running.
Yes.
So yeah, soccer, watching soccer, and then mountain biking and running are the big things that, because my kids are all gone, that just bring me joy or bring me happiness, because I'm kind of bored if I didn't have any hobbies with all the kids gone, when my whole life was just raising kids, and now it's me and Scott sitting on the couch staring at each other.
Yeah. Well, it has been proven that exercise really does help
It's good.
all over, and our mental ability too.
Yeah.
Well, you've had a really interesting life and experiences, and with your family. Thank you, Diane, for sharing with us today
Thanks
your
for
story.
having me.